Hello there everyone, this is Cade, and I'd like to introduce you to the first installation of the Dungeon Defenders Beta Team Sneak Peek. In this installment, we will be talking about the Series EV, the newest addition to the Dungeon Defenders cast. The Series EV is a brand new character who focuses on supporting other towers while having a few powerful tools of her own for assisting defenses. She has been granted the use of both huntress and apprentice weapons, and like the Barbarian, can equip 2 weapons instead of just one at a time. This gives her a distinct advantage in some places that other characters lack. While overall she does about 10% less damage than either the huntress or apprentice, her health has been scaled above either of their values, giving her survivability and strength. The Series EV towers all use a brand new mechanic for setting, each tower having 2 nodes that need to be placed. First a beginning node, and then an end node. As you can see, the longer you make the beam, the more DU it will cost. To compensate for this, each beam gains more health as its length is increased. Since placing short or long beams will be situational depending on the map, we wanted to give the EV the utility to be able to adapt to each situation. Now that you're familiar with the general mechanics, let's talk about her specific towers. The Proton Beam is the Series EV's first tower. It is a wire-like beam that deals physical damage over time, with an extremely fast refire rate, moderate damage, and a long life. It has a minimum DU of 3, and a maximum DU of 6. The Series EV's second tower is a physical barricade. The physical barricade has a few differences from normal walls. First is that it can be of variable length. Second is that its health varies based on how long you decide to make it, with shorter walls having a lower total HP. The physical wall, just like the other barricades, stops movement and grabs aggression from enemy monsters. This leaves much less a chance that something could phase through your defenses, or sneak through a small gap that you missed. It was designed to fall between the Magic Barricade and the Spike Barricade in terms of usage. The third new trick the Series EV brings is possibly the most exciting one. It is a projectile reflection wall that bounces back ranged attacks, making them harm enemies, while simultaneously protecting your defenses and crystal. The projectile reflection wall can be adjusted in length, just like all of the Series EV towers. Additionally, it has a fixed height. It will allow enemies to pass directly through it, but any projectiles that hit it will be reflected back and become friendly, damaging or even webbing opponents. It loses health each time it reflects something, and comes with a minimum of just 1 DU, up to a maximum of 3. We know this addition will lead to some interesting builds, and can't wait to see what the players come up with. Fourth, we have the Shock Beam, a powerful single-burst tripwire that explodes and stuns enemies for a duration based on your stun stat. It has a set number of firings, just like a Huntress trap, and deals decent burst damage, along with a substantial stun. It runs a minimum of 4 DU, and stretches to 7. Finally, we have the Series EV's Buff Beam, a tower which buffs all of the towers along the length of its beam by a percentage. The buff beam starts at a cost-effective 4 DU, and can be extended to take up 6. The beam's effect will stack with the monk's tower boosting abilities, but not boosts from guardian pets. It will provide some much-needed tower resistance, along with extra damage and attack speed, that should help provide support and survivability to player defenses. Be careful though, if a tower in the line of the beam is destroyed, the buff beam vanishes with it, so make sure to protect yourself. The Series EV also has 2 new hero abilities, the EV Decoy and the Mana Charge ability. The first of these 2 is the EV Decoy, which for 100 mana instantly drops a decoy of the Series EV. The decoy will then attract the attention of nearby enemies, who will attack it relentlessly until it dies. Upon death, the decoy will explode and deal damage to all enemies around it. Lastly, the Mana Charge. When activated, the Series EV will raise her arm and begin collecting any mana you run across. This mana will be stored as a charge in her arm cannon, and will be released upon clicking the fire button. The more mana collected, the longer the beam will fire for, penetrating enemies and hitting in an AoE cone. Despite her obvious strengths, the Series EV has a few glaring weaknesses, the most significant of which is her inability to deal well with flying units. Without assistance from the other classes, flyers can overwhelm and destroy her crystals. This makes her function much better as a support than as a carry-all. Together with a little assistance, however, she does a marvelous job of shoring up defenses, augmenting the team, and providing resources such as the projectile reflection that are exciting and new. That's it for this edition of the Dungeon Defenders Beta Team Sneak Peek. We hope you enjoy the new content, and likewise hope you'll subscribe to our YouTube channel for further updates to Dungeon Defenders.